G'day, my name's Todd Standing. I am from the website sylvanic.com. What I'm doing right now, what we are doing is we're gathering evidence to us. We're working with fingerprint experts, we're working with geneticists. If you've seen a Sasquatch, if you have evidence of a Sasquatch, please contact us. We're gathering all the evidence we can. You're going to find out why that is very shortly. This little segment was done by Doug Hasek, brilliant, amazing filmmaker. What he did with the Patterson Gimlin film, which is tremendous evidence, was just totally amazing. That's what this documentary is about. It's a documentary by Doug Hasek, and it's starring one of my heroes, Bob Gimlin. What an incredible, amazing, brilliant man. I have so much respect for him. After meeting him and talking with him, he's just really changed my life. I had no idea he was such a powerhouse, such an icon, such an excellent representative of this subject. So yeah, an amazing guy. I'm 99.9% certain that the Patterson Gimlin film is real. Here's his testimony. Here's this amazing guy. And again, Doug Hasek's done a brilliant job. This is from about 10-15 years ago, but it's still an excellent documentary. I know that since this documentary's been done, there's been lots of people claiming the Patterson Gimlin film is faked. And I was even at a point where I was almost convinced that it wasn't real. Almost. And then I met him and my colleague Jeff Meldrum with the tracks that can't be faked. There were tracks that were actually cast after this Sasquatch was filmed. Tracks that show a mid-tarsal joint. Forget about it. You can't fake that in 1967. When I saw that, and I had a few things explained to me by Bob Gimlin, I knew this footage was real. It's amazing. This footage has been through the ringer. Bob Gimlin has really helped me understand there's not too many people that can relate to me and because Jeff Meldrum hasn't filmed a Sasquatch, John Benernagel hasn't filmed a Sasquatch, Les Stroud hasn't filmed a Sasquatch. They don't get ridiculed. They're not called liars and hoaxers and all this stuff. And Bob Gimlin has. Bob Gimlin's been through the ringer. And I tell you, when he met me, he told me right straight, "That's a real Sasquatch you filmed. I've seen one, and that's what they look like." And I got to spend time with him and hang out with him. I showed him the documentary, Discovering Bigfoot, all the best Sasquatch footage that I have. And in Bob Gimlin's opinion, a man who has absolutely definitively seen a Sasquatch, he says, my footage is real. I say his footage is real. We both say Sasquatch is real. And of course, there's tens of thousands of other people that can corroborate this. So let's gather evidence. If you know about Sasquatch, if you've seen one definitively, if you're willing to testify to that effect, if you have evidence, DNA, anything, go to sylvanic.com, send us an email. We're gathering evidence. We need all the help we can get because we are going to shake things up immediately. It's coming in the next 3 weeks now. So documentary's coming out and time to go shake it up. So in the meantime, enjoy this spectacular White Wolf production by Doug Hasek, starring my hero, Bob Gimlin. Enjoy.
The Patterson Gimlin film is an icon to many Americans who believe in the existence of Bigfoot, and to those who claim to have seen one.
And the massive bicep in the arm is, wide like that.
It has defied explanation since 1967.
And as it moved, you could see the muscles ripping in the thighs and the arms, even underneath that hair, you could see the difference in the movement.
Is it history's most clever hoax, or is it real?
When that creature disappeared, it disappeared up that drainage there.
Only one man alive knows for sure, Bob Gimlin, for he was there. He tells his story for the very first time on television tonight. Are these 952 frames of 16mm film footage the best evidence that there are huge man-like apes living in North America?
Usually don't see these type of movement amplitudes in walking.
More importantly, does this film have more to tell?
The legs walleye in and then kick outwards, walleye in and kick outwards. So the knees are going in and out, in and out. Very strange.
If this is a guy in some ape-like suit, he clearly is walking funny.
My parents were honest people, and I was raised to be honest.
Here you have a large muscle here, which is called the biceps, and more so the hamstring muscle group.
Times when I really regretted that I was there and saw it. because of the ridicule and because of my wife being upset at me and practically thinking about divorcing me because of the thing, you know, and the people saying they faked this and faked that, and you know, and it bothers a person.
Bob Gimlin was part of a two-man team that obtained one of the most controversial films in history on October 20th, 1967. Is Bigfoot a living, breathing species, or simply a legend? You be the judge.
When I saw this thing, it's almost unexplainable how I felt. I thought, you know, here I am. I've been here, but I'm tired, but this thing is real.
The Patterson Gimlin film subject displays an interesting feature here, indicating that it's walking on very flat, flexible feet.
The 16mm film footage was not the only evidence of Gimlin and Patterson's encounter. A set of clear, deep footprints were cast and offered as evidence to corroborate the film subject's reality.
The footprints exhibit a very unhuman characteristic.
I got up on a stump, approximately 36 inches high, and jumped off with a cowboy boot on into the soil to illustrate how deep my boot would go in.
Animation expert Ruben Steindorf from Vision Realm will be able to recreate a perfect replica of the creature's foot in 3D animation.
Luckily, from the footage, they were able to get these casts in the same location, and so when I actually work on the feet, I'll be able to use these casts as a good point of reference.
When he's going through the leg swing, there is some outward rotation here.
Really don't think that back then they had the technology to pull something like this off.
Huge human-like footprints are found frequently in this area.
One thing that amazes me is that I'm seeing what appears to be an injury or hernia on the right thigh. And you can see it bumping out here. I just think this footage is so understudied. I mean, nobody has noticed that lump in over 37 years. I mean, it's been a long time, and I think that serious scientific analysis is finally warranted on this film.
We came around that tree, and this thing was standing right alongside the creek. It automatically started walking away as quick as I saw it. I wasn't a confirmed believer that these things really existed.
Bob Gimlin tells his amazing story for the first time on TV.
Roger had gotten a phone call. They'd put a water tank in up in the mountains where they're planning on building logging roads. And when they came back on Tuesday morning after Labor Day weekend, there was 3 different sizes of apparently Bigfoot prints is what they thought they were. And the time we left up there, it was the last part of September, and we ended in that Bluff Creek area. That's what we rode out of every day, then came back in the evenings.
Hey, let's head up to Bluff Creek.
The weather was great in October, like this is around here right now. Maple leaves and everything was turning as normal in October, you know, frosty short nights. So Roger said, let's ride back up in some of them areas that we had covered before.
Found prints up there last week. Good, yeah.
We rode up that way, up that creek bed away from our camp, which was probably a couple of miles. As we came around a downfall tree with a root system in the dirt, like a crow's nest, logs jammed together. As we came around that, then, of course, the horses just blew up. And this thing was standing on the opposite side of the creek that we were on. It was massive. I would imagine it was thinking about crossing the creek. When I first saw it, it was not looking directly, I don't think, at me. And the commotion of trying to get the camera out of the saddlebags while his horse was jumping around. I was watching the creature and it was walking away. But I could see the face real good, and I could see the eyes. Well, the time we got the horses kind of settled down, and Roger got off with the camera, ran across the creek, and Roger had the camera to his eye. Then he stumbled kind of and fell down on his knees, and then he got back up and he ran over to a log that was a little ways away and stabilized himself on the log. At that time, I rode across the creek on my horse and just sat over there the creature makes a turn, slight turn with his shoulders and kind of looked back. That's when I rode across the creek on the horse. That's when it made that gesture. I was looking at it from the back. There were some trees or vegetation that was getting between Roger and the creature, and he wanted to get him. So he relocated, and when he did, he asked me if I would cover him, which meant get the rifle and see. There was no intent to shoot this thing at all. The creature just kept right on walking, and of course it went out of sight.
Ain't sure what I got. I ran out of film.
But the chase didn't end there. Patterson and Gimlin tracked the creature up the creek bed for miles.
And I kind of wanted to follow it on the horse and put film back in the camera. Then we went on and went the same direction that the creature went. We could see scuffs in the gravel. And then it went right up into the cliffs. There was no way you could ride there, steep mountain cliffs. Roger contacted me and wanted me to bring him and come down here. And so I couldn't do that right away. So I had a little ranch up there and had a few head of cattle, and so I had to get somebody to take care of them. So I did, and by the time we left up there, it was the last part of September.
For 7 days, they saw nothing. All that changed on October 20th.
Looking at the space as an animator and an artist, there's nothing really over the top about the features of it, and it doesn't really look like anybody had just, made it up. Pete Travers took this piece of footage and put it on a light table with backlit, and then actually sketched over it to work out some of the finer details here in the hair and the eyes. As you can see, it's a little bit more human-like and less monster-like without the facial hair, less of a monster.
In May of 2000, video expert and wildlife researcher Doug Hychek transferred the original film to high-definition television for added resolution. Hychek spotted a large lump on the creature's leg that had gone unnoticed.
After literally hundreds of hours of studying the Patterson footage, I noticed a bulge on the upper right quadriceps. I'm not a biomechanics expert, so I've sent it off to other biomechanics experts to look at. It's probably either some kind of morphology or pathology, meaning an injury. It looks suspiciously like a hernia. And as I loop the footage back and forth, I can see this bulge pop out and then disappear and go flat when the leg is straight.
Was it an injury or something else?
Here would be the quadriceps. It looks more like a well-developed muscle. And given the fact that we don't see a lot of knee locking, you would need these muscles. There's going to be a point in time during a gait where the left or the right leg supports the complete weight of the animal.
Ruben Steindorf, a forensic animator with Vision Realm, has been given the task of recreating not just the face of the creature, but the entire Bluff Creek scene in a 3D virtual matrix.
Now that we recreated this film subject, I'm now going to create the environment in which the subject moves across in, and I have a detailed map here of the path that it takes. We're finally going to be able to see what went down from any angle in this environment.
I still, in my mind, know exactly how this film site looked then. And I'm probably going to be a little bit disappointed tomorrow when I go there, because grow up, and I know things have to change. The memory of what it was and how it walked and where it was at that time, it won't ever leave me.
Gimlin has never returned to the original film site until now.
We came in down through Happy Camp, and I pulled as much bark off those trees as I could and covered those tracks.
At a location called Bluff Creek for signs of a reported Bigfoot creature. For 7 days, they saw nothing.
Oh my God!
All that changed on October 20th. To meet the ultimate witness, a man who was there, Bob Gimlin.
I was kind of disappointed in the original film, because I thought, well, it should have been able to get more than that. But then I took into consideration, I didn't have nothing to do with cameras or anything. I thought, Roger was running part of the time, and he was trying to relocate part of the time, and these things happen so rapidly, it is just like happening like, you know, heartbeats.
Ruben Steindorf of Vision Realm Animation has completed his 3D recreation.
This amazing 3D animation will be further detailed and then rendered with many different camera angles, giving clues to the creature's reaction, behavior, and gait.
Dr. Jürgen Kunzak, Associate Professor of Biomechanics at the University of Minnesota, has been asked to examine the unusual gait of the Patterson creature.
Looking closer at this Patterson footage, I think we can conclude that this type of gait clearly has some peculiarities, features, the lifting of the legs, the outward rotation of the knees and of the hips that make it peculiar. The gait does look different than a human gait, there's no doubt about it.
Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Associate Professor of Anatomy and Anthropology at Idaho State University, examined the overall physiology of the Bluff Creek creature.
There are a number of features of the pattern of the gait and movement of the subject of the Patterson Gimlin film that speak to its authenticity. Features that include a sort of a wall-eyed carriage of the knee and leg that, combined with a high stepping gait, allow this relatively long foot to clear the ground. All these aspects, combined with the apparent anatomy, suggest that this is much more than simply a man in a fursuit.
I'd say if you're out there looking for them, use a lot of common sense and try not to destroy them.
Up until his death, Roger Patterson, who had received small royalties from the film, and Bob Gimlin, who had not profited from it, always agreed that what they saw and filmed was a genuine Bigfoot creature.